Welcome to Moon's Fairy Tales. Today, we dive into the world of Hogwarts with a tale that follows Luna Lovegood on a secret adventure parallel to the events of the Order of the Phoenix. What hidden mysteries lie within the ancient walls of Hogwarts? Prepare yourself for a story filled with magic, enigmas, and bravery. Sit back, relax, and let the whispers of Hogwarts guide you through this thrilling journey. Chapter 1: The Hushed Murmurs of the Castle. Luna Lovegood had always felt more in tune with the unseen than most. It wasn't just the thestrals or the curious magical creatures she believed in, but the subtle shifts in the air, the hidden stories behind every object. Hogwarts was filled with these ancient secrets, long forgotten by even the cleverest witches and wizards. Most students walked past them without a second thought, too engrossed in their own lives. But Luna noticed. She always did. As she stood in the room of requirement, watching Harry teach a Patronus charm to Dumbledore's army, she felt something odd. There was a hum in the air, almost like a whispering voice, faint but distinct. Luna's large, silvery eyes drifted toward the back of the room. It wasn't like she wasn't paying attention to Harry, but something about the energy surrounding them seemed different today. The room always shifted to meet their needs, yes, but this felt like a need the castle itself had. She blinked slowly, letting her gaze settle back on the lesson just as Harry called out, "Expecto Patronum." The room filled with the soft glow of Harry's stag, and gasps of awe rippled through the group. Even Luna couldn't help but smile at the beauty of it. But behind her calm exterior, her mind was turning. After the meeting, the DA dispersed in pairs and small groups, talking excitedly about their progress. Harry looked a little worn out, but pleased. As Luna started to leave, he stopped her. "Luna, you did great today," Harry said, his voice warm with gratitude. "Oh, thank you, Harry," Luna replied dreamily. "I think the patron uses are rather pretty, don't you? Like little pieces of happiness running free." She smiled, but something about the whisper in the room lingered in her thoughts. Harry nodded, giving her a small, awkward smile in return before turning back to pack up. Luna watched him for a moment, then drifted away, her feet carrying her along one of the castle's winding corridors. Hogwarts was so full of life, but it was the places between the life that intrigued her, the hidden rooms, the forgotten corners. Today, something was calling her. Luna found herself wandering near the 7th floor corridor, past an old tapestry of Barnabas the Barmy trying to teach trolls ballet. The trolls, of course, were failing miserably. She paused, gazing at the tapestry, when suddenly that soft whisper grew louder. Her heart skipped a beat. It wasn't just in her head. The castle was speaking to her. She turned her head slowly. There, at the end of the hall, a shadow seemed to flicker. It wasn't anything overt, but to Luna, it was as clear as daylight. She took a step toward it, then another, until her fingers brushed the wall. She felt the cool stone, but her fingertips sensed something more. A small pulse of magic, faint yet unmistakable, rippled beneath her touch. Luna's expression brightened as she murmured to herself, "How lovely. I wonder what you're hiding." With a gentle push, she moved the tapestry aside, revealing an old door that she had never seen before. It wasn't marked on any of her maps of Hogwarts, not even the Marauder's map Harry sometimes let her borrow. The door was old, worn with time and carved with strange, spiraling runes. Luna tilted her head, studying them. "How curious," she whispered. "I don't think I've seen these before." She pulled out her wand, her mind running through the possible unlocking spells, but instead, she closed her eyes and simply placed her hand against the door. For Luna, sometimes magic didn't need to be forced. It needed to be understood. The door gave a low groan and creaked open. Inside, the room was bathed in a strange, silver light. It wasn't a normal kind of glow, more like the light of the moon on a misty night, soft and elusive. The air felt thick with old magic, as though it had been untouched for centuries. Luna stepped inside, her breath catching slightly as her eyes adjusted to the eerie beauty of the place. The walls were covered in more runes, but these were different. They seemed to shift and change as she looked at them, almost alive in the way they swirled and moved across the stone. Artifacts lined the shelves, old, dusty relics that hummed faintly with magic. But it wasn't the objects that drew Luna's attention. It was the whispers. They weren't loud, more like soft murmurs, just at the edge of hearing. They filled the air, wrapping around her in a strange, comforting way, like the murmur of a stream in the distance. But there was something more. Something beneath the murmurs. A secret. A call. Luna walked deeper into the room, her eyes wide with wonder. She knelt beside a particularly curious artifact, an old, tarnished mirror with runes etched around its frame. As she gazed into it, the silver mist seemed to swirl, revealing glimpses of faces, long, forgotten faces that flickered in and out of view. The whispers grew louder for a moment, then quieted again. Luna frowned slightly. She didn't understand what they were saying, but she felt them. The words weren't for everyone. They were old, older than the Hogwarts she knew, older than the magic she had studied. The magic here felt ancient. Something that only someone like her, someone who believed in the unseen, could hear. Luna smiled softly to herself. She knew what most people thought of her, that she was strange, that her head was in the clouds. But here, in this room, surrounded by these whispers, she didn't feel strange at all. She felt connected, like this magic had been waiting for her all along. As she stood to leave, Luna's hand brushed against one of the runes on the wall, and suddenly the whispers surged again, this time more insistent, more urgent. A single word seemed to rise above the rest: seek. Luna blinked, her heart racing slightly. "Seek what?" she whispered back, her voice soft but clear. The whispers didn't answer. But Luna knew that whatever it was, she was meant to find it. This room, this magic, it was all part of something much bigger. Something old, something forgotten, something that had been waiting for someone to listen. And Luna Lovegood, more than anyone, was always ready to listen. As she left the room and the door closed behind her with a faint click, she couldn't help but feel a thrill of excitement. Hogwarts had secrets, more than she could have ever imagined. And she was about to uncover one of its greatest mysteries. With a serene smile on her face, Luna whispered to the empty corridor, "How very exciting." But she knew this was only the beginning. Chapter 2: The Veiled Enigmas. Luna Lovegood's mind buzzed with the secrets she had uncovered in the hidden room. The strange runes, the shifting symbols, and the insistent whispers felt like threads to an ancient mystery woven deep into Hogwarts' very foundation. And now, those threads were pulling her in directions no one else seemed able to sense. As she walked down the quiet corridors the next morning, her thoughts lingered on the word that had risen from the whispers: seek. But seek what? And where? The cryptic room had offered no direct answers, only more questions. Still, Luna knew better than to dismiss such mysteries. Hogwarts had ways of revealing things in time, especially to those willing to look. At breakfast, Luna sat alone at the Ravenclaw table, her plate largely untouched as she flipped through her compendium of magical creatures book. She traced the familiar illustrations with her finger, remembering the odd hum she felt in the hidden room, like the resonance of old magic or the presence of creatures long forgotten. Luna wasn't sure yet what kind of magic she was dealing with, but she had a feeling that magical creatures, always tied to the deeper currents of the magical world, held part of the answer. Across the hall, Ginny Weasley's laughter caught her attention. Luna smiled softly. Ginny and Neville had become her closest companions since joining Dumbledore's army, though they didn't always understand her peculiar outlook on things. Still, she thought, maybe they could help. It couldn't hurt to share what she'd found. Later that day, Luna approached Ginny and Neville as they were leaving the greenhouse after herbology class. The sunlight streamed through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the cobblestones. The two friends looked up as Luna's familiar dreamy voice reached them. "Ginny, Neville," Luna began, tilting her head thoughtfully, "have you ever noticed the hidden places in Hogwarts? The ones no one seems to talk about?" Ginny exchanged a glance with Neville, half smiling. "You mean like the Room of Requirement? I think we've all noticed it by now." Luna shook her head. "No, not like that. Something older. I found a room, well, it found me, really. It's filled with runes and whispers, and I think it's trying to tell me something." Neville blinked, frowning slightly in confusion. "Whispers?" "Yes," Luna nodded, her voice steady. "The kind that feel more like thoughts, just at the edge of your mind. I think they're guiding me towards something important, something forgotten." She paused, looking between her two friends. "There are symbols, too, ones I've never seen before." Ginny raised an eyebrow, her curiosity piqued, despite the skepticism creeping into her expression. "What kind of symbols?" Luna opened her book and pointed to a set of ancient runes. "They're similar to these, but different. I haven't found an exact match yet. But I saw them again this morning, in the corridor near the defense classroom." Ginny's brow furrowed. "You saw the runes appear?" Luna's eyes lit up. "Yes. They're showing up around the school now. I think they're leading me somewhere." She tilted her head slightly, a small smile on her lips. "Do you want to see?" Ginny looked hesitant, but before she could answer, Neville spoke up. "I'll come with you, Luna. It sounds interesting." Luna smiled, clearly pleased. "Wonderful. I knew you'd understand." The three of them set off through the corridors, Luna leading with her usual serene expression while Ginny and Neville exchanged skeptical but intrigued glances behind her. Luna didn't seem to notice their doubts. She was too absorbed in the feeling of being close to something grand, something just beyond the veil of normal perception. They reached the defense against the dark arts corridor, where Luna pointed out a faint series of symbols etched into the stone wall. The runes were almost invisible, flickering faintly like shadows in the corners of their eyes. Neville squinted, leaning closer. "I think I see them. They're really faint, though." Ginny crossed her arms, her voice thoughtful. "Maybe they're just old carvings or marks from centuries ago?" Luna shook her head, her long blonde hair swaying as she moved. "No. These are new. They weren't here last week." She reached out, tracing one of the symbols with her finger. "They're leading somewhere." Ginny sighed. "All right, say you're right. Where do you think they're leading?" Luna smiled, a knowing glint in her eye. "I don't know yet, but we'll find out." As they continued their search, Luna felt an odd energy shift in the air, much like the hum she had felt in the secret room. Her heart raced with the certainty that they were on the right path. They followed the faint trail of symbols through hallways and down staircases, deeper into the castle. At last, they came to a dead end. The symbols stopped at an old, disused tapestry, one depicting a scene that even Ginny had never noticed before. It showed a great tree, its branches stretching out into a vast night sky filled with constellations. At the tree's base, 4 figures stood in shadow, each wearing ancient robes. Luna stared at the tapestry in awe. "This is it. I'm sure of it." Neville frowned. "But it's just a tapestry." Luna took a step forward, examining the stars woven into the fabric. "No. Look at the stars. They aren't fixed, they're moving." Ginny leaned closer, her eyes widening. "She's right. They're shifting, but they don't match the real sky." Luna reached out, touching one of the stars, and felt a subtle vibration under her fingers. Her smile deepened as the whispers returned, clearer now than before. "They're leading us somewhere," she murmured. Without hesitation, Luna pressed her hand against the center of the tapestry, where the figures stood. There was a soft rumble, and the wall behind the tapestry began to shimmer, revealing a narrow passageway. Neville stepped back, eyes wide. That wasn't there before." Luna turned to her friends, her voice filled with quiet excitement. "Shall we?" Ginny sighed, half smiling. "I suppose we've come this far." Neville, still looking slightly bewildered, nodded. "Let's do it." As they stepped into the passageway, the shadows seemed to close around them. Luna felt a thrill of excitement. This was it. This was where the mystery would begin to unravel. The secrets of Hogwarts, old and veiled, were starting to reveal themselves. The whispers grew louder as they ventured deeper into the passage, and Luna's heart quickened. She had a feeling that whatever lay at the end of this path, it would change everything. And so, with her friends by her side, Luna Lovegood ventured into the heart of the castle, following the veiled enigmas that only she could hear. Chapter 3: Shadows in the Forbidden Forest. Luna Lovegood had always found the Forbidden Forest more fascinating than frightening. Others avoided its shadowed depths, but to Luna, the forest was full of mystery and life, teeming with creatures that most people didn't understand, or worse, feared. Now, as she and Neville stepped cautiously beneath its towering trees, Luna felt an odd sense of belonging. The trail of clues that had led them here, winding through the castle's ancient symbols and whispers, now pulled them deeper into the unknown. Neville Longbottom, however, was not nearly as at ease. His steps were hesitant, his eyes darting nervously to the shifting shadows among the trees. He carried his wand tightly in hand, ready for anything that might leap out of the underbrush. "Are you sure about this, Luna?" he asked, his voice laced with concern. "I mean, this is the Forbidden Forest. We've had enough trouble here before." Luna smiled serenely as she glanced at him. "Oh, I'm quite sure, Neville. The forest is very misunderstood, you know. Magical creatures are always connected to the deeper mysteries of the world. We're meant to be here." Neville didn't look convinced, but he followed her without further protest. The thick canopy overhead filtered the sunlight, casting dappled shadows along their path. As they ventured further, the usual sounds of the forest, rustling leaves, distant bird calls, grew quieter, replaced by a soft hum, almost like the whispers they had followed through the castle. Luna stopped suddenly, her eyes narrowing as she tilted her head to listen. Neville came to an abrupt halt behind her, glancing around warily. "What is it?" he asked in a hushed tone. "The air is different here," Luna murmured, her gaze shifting toward a cluster of silvery plants growing in the shadows of a nearby tree. "Do you hear it? There's magic in the wind." Neville listened intently but heard nothing out of the ordinary. Still, he trusted Luna's instincts. "What kind of magic?" Luna didn't answer right away. She knelt beside the peculiar plants, her fingers gently brushing against their soft, glowing leaves. "Moon calves," she said softly, her voice filled with certainty. "They've been here recently." Neville blinked. "Moon calves? I thought they only came out during the full moon." "They do," Luna replied, standing again. "But the traces of their presence linger longer. We're close to something. We should follow." The pair pressed on, winding their way through the dense forest until they reached a small clearing. There, bathed in the dim light, were the unmistakable shapes of mooncalves, luminous creatures with large, mournful eyes and smooth, pale skin. They moved with a graceful awkwardness, their long limbs too delicate for their round bodies. Luna's face lit up with delight. "Aren't they lovely?" she whispered. "They're dancing." Neville stared in awe as the mooncalves began their slow, rhythmic movements, performing an almost ritualistic dance under the shadowy sky. It was mesmerizing, but Luna's attention was focused on something else. She watched the way their hoofs moved, how they left faint, glowing patterns in the dirt. "They're leaving a trail," she murmured, stepping closer. Neville followed her gaze and saw it too, runes, faint but visible, forming beneath the mooncalf's feet. "More symbols?" he asked, his voice filled with a mix of wonder and apprehension. Luna nodded, her eyes wide with fascination. "Yes. These creatures are tied to the ancient magic. They're showing us the way." As the mooncalves finished their dance and quietly retreated back into the trees, Luna and Neville examined the glowing marks they left behind. The symbols were more intricate than the ones they had seen before, almost alive with magical energy. Luna traced them with her fingers, her mind racing with possibilities. "The forest is helping us," she said quietly. "These symbols are leading us toward the next clue." but we'll need help to decipher them. Neville's brow furrowed. Who could help us out here? Luna stood and glanced at the edge of the clearing. The Thestrals. Neville's heart skipped a beat. He remembered his first encounter with Thestrals, how eerie they had seemed, their skeletal frames and leathery wings. But he also remembered how Luna had looked at them, not with fear, but with understanding. Thestrals? He repeated, his voice shaky. How are they supposed to help? Luna gave him a serene smile. They see things differently, just like us. They're part of the forest's ancient magic. If we can find them, they'll guide us. Without waiting for Neville's reply, Luna began walking toward the deeper part of the forest, where the trees grew thicker and the air felt heavier. Neville, feeling his pulse quicken, followed closely behind. It wasn't long before they heard the soft rustle of wings, and there, emerging from the gloom, were the Thestrals, graceful, dark creatures that seemed to melt in and out of the shadows. Luna approached them without hesitation, her hand outstretched. One of the Thestrals, a large female with shimmering black eyes, stepped forward to meet her. Luna spoke softly to the creature, her voice gentle and full of warmth. "We're looking for something," she whispered, gazing into the Thestral's eyes. "Something hidden deep within the forest. Can you help us?" The Thestral tilted its head, watching Luna intently, and then with a slow, deliberate movement, it began to walk, leading them deeper into the woods. Luna and Neville followed in silence, the Thestral moving with a purpose, its wings rustling gently as it moved through the trees. After what felt like hours of walking, they arrived at the mouth of a small cave, nearly hidden beneath a tangle of roots and overgrown foliage. The Thestral paused and turned its head back toward Luna, its dark eyes glinting with something like knowing. Luna smiled, bowing her head in thanks. "This is it," she said softly. Neville stared at the cave entrance, his heart racing. "Are we really going in there?" Luna nodded. "We must. The answers are waiting inside." With a deep breath, Neville steeled himself and followed Luna as they entered the cave. The air grew cooler as they descended, and the faint echoes of water dripping from the cave ceiling echoed in the silence. As they ventured deeper, a faint glow began to illuminate the walls, more symbols, ancient and shifting, much like those they had seen in the castle. At the center of the cave, perched on a stone pedestal, was a peculiar creature, small, with shimmering, translucent wings and glowing eyes. Its appearance was strange, even by Luna's standards, but it radiated an undeniable aura of wisdom. The creature gazed at them with an air of quiet authority, its voice a low, melodic hum. "You seek the magic of old," it said. "But to unlock its secrets, you must answer this riddle." Luna's eyes sparkled with excitement as she nodded. "We're ready." The creature fluttered its wings and spoke. "In darkness and light, I see the truth. I guide the lost and speak no lies. Born of silence, I whisper loud. Who am I, beneath the shroud?" Luna's brow furrowed slightly as she considered the riddle. Beside her, Neville bit his lip, thinking hard. The answer was elusive, but Luna's mind worked in ways others could never quite understand. After a moment of silence, her face lit up with realization. "The answer is a shadow," she whispered. "Shadows are born of light and darkness. They guide us without speaking. and they reveal truths that we might not see otherwise. The creature's wings fluttered, and it nodded approvingly. "Correct. You are worthy to continue." With those words, the symbols on the cave walls flared to life, glowing brighter until they formed a path leading further into the darkness. Luna and Neville exchanged a glance, their hearts racing with anticipation. They had solved the riddle, but they knew that the true mystery was only beginning to unfold. As they ventured deeper into the cave, the whispers returned, louder and more insistent than ever. Luna felt them pulling her forward, urging her toward the heart of the ancient magic that had been hidden away for centuries. And she knew, with a certainty that only she could understand, that they were on the brink of uncovering something extraordinary. Chapter 4: The Hidden Chamber Beneath the Stars. The moon hung high above the astronomy tower, casting its pale light over the grounds of Hogwarts. Luna Lovegood stood at the tower's edge, her wide eyes gazing not at the celestial spectacle above, but at the stone beneath her feet. The stars had led her here, more precisely, the thestrals, the mooncalves, and the strange riddle in the forest had guided her. All the signs pointed to this moment, under the stars, when the ancient magic she had been chasing would finally reveal itself. Neville stood nearby, peering over the edge, his nerves showing through. "Luna, are you sure this is the right place?" he asked, his voice laced with a mix of curiosity and concern. Luna nodded, the cool night breeze tugging gently at her hair. "The riddle led us here. In darkness and light, I see the truth. The stars and the night sky, they hold the key. And this tower, it's been part of Hogwarts for centuries. It's not just for stargazing. There's something hidden here." Neville frowned, casting a glance up at the sky. "But we've been to the astronomy tower before, loads of times. What could possibly be here that no one's found?" Luna smiled faintly, her gaze now focused on the stone floor beneath them. Not everyone listens to the magic around them. But tonight, everything is aligned. She bent down, running her fingers along the cold stone, tracing the intricate patterns that were invisible to the untrained eye. Neville crouched beside her, watching in awe as faint runes began to shimmer, etched into the floor like an ancient map. He had seen strange things before, but this was different. There was a sense of something old, something powerful lurking just beneath the surface. "What are those symbols?" he asked. Luna's voice was soft, almost reverent. "They're star charts, but not the ones we use today. These are from a time long before Hogwarts. The founders must have used them to hide something." As her fingers brushed over the last rune, the ground beneath them trembled, and a low rumble echoed through the tower. Slowly, the center of the stone floor began to shift, revealing a spiral staircase that descended into the darkness below. Neville's eyes widened, his breath catching in his throat. "Merlin's beard. I didn't know there was anything under here." Luna stood, a serene expression on her face, as though this was exactly what she had expected. "The stars led us here, Neville. We were meant to find this." Without hesitation, she stepped forward, beginning her descent into the hidden chamber. Neville hesitated, glancing back at the open sky as if hoping for some reassurance. But then, with a resigned sigh, he followed Luna, his wand raised for light. The air grew cooler as they descended, the walls around them carved with ancient, shifting constellations. The faint glow of the runes illuminated their path, casting ghostly reflections in the dim light. The deeper they went, the more Neville felt the weight of the magic surrounding them. It was unlike anything he had ever felt before, dense, almost oppressive, yet brimming with a strange kind of life. At the bottom of the staircase, they emerged into a vast chamber, the ceiling impossibly high and filled with swirling stars. But these stars were not part of the night sky above. They seemed to hang in midair, suspended in the darkness like a living map of the cosmos. Luna stood still for a moment, her breath caught in her throat as she took in the beauty and wonder of the room. "This is it," she whispered. "The chamber beneath the stars." Neville could only stare in awe. What is this place?" Luna moved forward, her eyes scanning the walls, which were lined with enormous murals, enchanted scenes that seemed to shift and move as they watched. The murals depicted the 4 founders of Hogwarts, but not as they had seen them in history books. Here, they were engaged in a powerful act of magic, sealing something away, something dark, hidden beneath the foundation of the school itself. "It's the magic of the founders," Luna murmured, her voice echoing in the chamber. "They hid something here, long ago. Look." Neville followed her gaze to one of the murals that showed the founders standing in a circle, their wands raised toward a swirling mass of energy. Around them, the stars glowed brightly, aligning in a way that mirrored the night sky they had just seen outside. Luna reached out to touch the mural, and as her fingers brushed the enchanted surface, the image began to move, playing out a story. "The stars." Luna's voice trailed off as she watched the magical painting come to life. "They used the stars to seal it away. Ancient magic, tied to the very foundations of Hogwarts." The swirling energy in the mural took shape, becoming a dark, ominous force, a shadowy figure that loomed over the founders. Neville's heart raced as he watched the scene unfold. The founders worked together to bind the darkness, locking it within the walls of the school, hidden beneath layers of enchantments and time. "They were protecting something," Neville whispered. "But from what?" Luna's gaze was fixed on the mural, her mind racing with thoughts and possibilities. "Not what, Neville. Who?" She turned to him, her eyes wide with realization. The founders knew this magic would be needed again. They didn't just hide it, they left it for someone to find, someone who could unlock its secrets when the time was right. Neville stared at her, confusion etched across his face. "But why now? Why us?" Luna shook her head slowly, her voice distant. "I don't know yet. But this magic, it's tied to something much larger. Something that's happening right now, with Voldemort's return. The stars have aligned again, just like they did when the founders sealed this chamber." As Luna spoke, the stars in the chamber seemed to pulse with life, reacting to her words. The swirling constellations shifted, aligning in a pattern that mirrored the murals on the walls. The magic in the room grew stronger, filling the air with a tangible energy that made Neville's skin tingle. "There's something more," Luna whispered, her eyes fixed on the stars. "Something we haven't uncovered yet." She moved toward the center of the chamber, where a large stone pedestal stood, covered in more of the ancient runes. As she approached, the stars above seemed to respond, growing brighter and more focused. Luna knelt beside the pedestal, her fingers tracing the runes. "These are the same runes I saw in the castle," she murmured. "They're connected to the magic the founders used. This is where the final piece of the mystery lies." Neville watched anxiously as Luna worked, his wand casting long shadows across the chamber. He still couldn't shake the feeling that they were in over their heads, that whatever lay beneath the surface of this ancient magic was more dangerous than they could understand. But Luna seemed calm, focused. She had a way of seeing things that others couldn't, and he trusted her instincts more than anyone's. Suddenly, the runes on the pedestal began to glow, and the stars above shifted once again, forming a new constellation, a hidden map, one that pointed to something beyond Hogwarts itself. The air in the chamber crackled with energy, and Luna's eyes widened in awe. "The final piece of the puzzle," she whispered, standing. "The stars have shown us the way." Neville stepped closer, peering at the glowing map. "But where does it lead?" Luna turned to him, a quiet determination in her eyes. "To the heart of the ancient magic." "We're not finished yet, Neville. There's one more step." As the stars continued to pulse above them, Luna knew that their journey was far from over. The founders had left more than just a hidden chamber. They had left a legacy of magic, one that had been waiting for centuries to be uncovered. And now, under the starlight, Luna and Neville stood at the threshold of that discovery. The next phase of their journey would be the most difficult yet, but Luna felt a sense of clarity. The mysteries of Hogwarts were finally unraveling, and she was ready to face whatever lay ahead. With a calm but resolute voice, she said, "The stars have always been watching, Neville. And now, they're ready to guide us to the end." Together, they stepped out of the chamber beneath the stars, their path illuminated by the ancient magic that had brought them there. Chapter 5: The Test of the Founders. Luna Lovegood stood in the center of the hidden chamber beneath Hogwarts, the enchanted murals surrounding her alive with swirling magic. The starlit constellations overhead cast a gentle glow on her pale face, while the ancient runes on the floor pulsed with a soft, rhythmic light. This chamber held the key to the ancient magic she had been seeking, but she knew that unlocking it would require more than just knowledge. It would require something deeper, something that connected her to the very spirit of the school itself. Neville stood beside her, glancing nervously at the moving murals. "What do we do now?" he asked quietly, the unease clear in his voice. Luna turned to him, her expression serene but determined. "The founders didn't just hide this magic, Neville. They protected it. And they left trials, tests for anyone who tried to uncover their secrets. I think we're about to face those trials." Before Neville could respond, the room shifted around them. The ground trembled slightly, and 4 distinct paths appeared before them, each leading to a different part of the chamber. Above each path, an enchanted sigil glowed brightly, representing one of the 4 founders of Hogwarts: Gryffindor's lion, Hufflepuff's badger, Ravenclaw's eagle, and Slytherin's serpent. Luna smiled faintly. "These are the tests." Neville swallowed nervously, his grip tightening on his wand. "What kind of tests?" Luna stepped toward the path marked with the lion, her eyes soft but resolute. "Courage, wit, loyalty, ambition." Each founder represents a different quality, qualities that built this school. If we're going to unlock the final mystery, we'll have to prove that we carry those traits within us. Neville looked apprehensive, but Luna's calm confidence was reassuring. "So, we're splitting up?" he asked. Luna nodded. "Yes. Each of us will face a trial that resonates with who we are. I think the magic will guide us." She turned to Neville with a warm smile. "You've always been loyal, Neville. Hufflepuff's path will be yours." Neville hesitated, but then gave a small nod. "And you?" Luna's gaze shifted to the path marked with Ravenclaw's eagle. "Ravenclaw's path is mine. It's where I belong." Without further words, the two friends parted ways. Luna stepped lightly down the Ravenclaw path, her footsteps echoing faintly in the vast chamber. As she walked, the walls seemed to close in around her, shimmering with a pale, blue light. The atmosphere became quieter, as though the very air around her was holding its breath, waiting for something to unfold. The path led her to a circular room, its ceiling high and domed like the night sky. In the center of the room stood a tall, ornate mirror, its frame intricately carved with symbols of wisdom and knowledge. Luna approached it slowly, her wide eyes reflecting in the polished glass. The moment she stood before the mirror, the reflection shimmered and changed. It no longer showed Luna as she was, but a vision of herself in the future. In this reflection, Luna was older, wiser, standing among bookshelves in a grand library filled with ancient knowledge. She looked calm, at peace, as though she had found all the answers she had ever sought. The image stirred something in Luna's heart, a deep yearning to know, to understand the mysteries of the world. But as Luna reached out to touch the mirror, the image shifted again. This time, it showed something darker. Luna saw herself standing in a world that felt wrong. The sky above was a swirling storm of darkness, and around her, Hogwarts was in ruins. She was alone, her face strained with confusion and pain, her once clear mind lost in a sea of uncertainty. In this vision, her desire for knowledge had led her down a path of isolation, far from the warmth of friendship and love. Luna pulled her hand back, her heart racing. This mirror wasn't showing her the future, it was showing her possibilities. The test wasn't just about intelligence or wit, it was about wisdom. Knowledge was a powerful thing, but it could also be dangerous. The trial was asking her to choose, to pursue answers at all costs, or to accept that some mysteries weren't meant to be solved. For a long moment, Luna stood in silence, contemplating the mirror's message. Her thoughts wandered back to the adventures she'd shared with Harry, Ginny, Neville, and the rest of Dumbledore's army. She had always been curious, always chasing after the strange and the unknown. But the mirror reminded her that there was more to life than answers. Sometimes, the most important thing was understanding when to let go of the need to know everything. With a soft smile, Luna took a step back from the mirror. "I choose to keep my heart open to the mysteries," she whispered. "Not every answer needs to be found." As she spoke, the mirror's surface rippled like water, and the reflection faded. A soft, approving hum filled the room, and the doorway behind her opened once again. Luna had passed Ravenclaw's test. When she emerged back into the central chamber, she found Neville already waiting for her. His face was flushed, and he looked both relieved and proud. "I made it through," he said with a grin. "Hufflepuff's trial wasn't easy, though." Luna beamed at him. "I knew you would." Neville's trial had tested his loyalty and resilience. He had been confronted with illusions of his friends in danger, forced to choose between staying the course or abandoning the mission to save them. In the end, his faith in his friends' strength and his loyalty to the greater cause had carried him through. Together, they looked at the other two paths, Slytherin and Gryffindor. Luna glanced at Neville. "Do you think we can face these trials together?" Neville hesitated, but then nodded. "I think we'll have to." They chose Gryffindor's path next, where Luna knew they would be tested for courage. As they walked down the path, the temperature dropped, and a thick mist began to swirl around them. The walls of the chamber faded into darkness, leaving them in a shadowy void. Suddenly, figures began to appear, dark, hooded shapes with glowing red eyes, their presence oppressive and terrifying. Neville raised his wand, his voice trembling. What are they?" "Dementors," Luna whispered, though she knew they were not real, only part of the trial. She could feel the cold dread settling over her, pulling at her happiest memories. But they couldn't be allowed to fall into fear. This was Gryffindor's test, a trial of courage, and they would have to face it together. Luna closed her eyes, summoning every ounce of warmth she could muster. She thought of her father, of her mother's loving voice, and the feeling of belonging she had with her friends. She raised her wand and whispered, "Expecto Patronum." A soft light burst from her wand, forming a silvery hair that bounded forward, driving the shadowy Dementors back. Beside her, Neville found his own strength, casting his Patronus, a great, shimmering bear that roared to life and chased away the last of the darkness. The mist cleared, and the warmth returned to the air. Gryffindor's path had been passed. The final trial, Slytherin's, awaited them. As they approached the serpent-marked doorway, Luna felt a chill run through her. Slytherin's test would challenge their ambition, their desire for power. And while Luna had never craved power, she knew that this path would test something deeper, her ability to confront the darker parts of herself. Inside the chamber, they were faced with a choice. Two doors stood before them, each offering a reward. One promised knowledge, power, and the ability to control their destiny. The other offered something less tangible, peace, acceptance, and the strength to follow their path without bending the world to their will. Neville looked at Luna, his brow furrowed. "Which one do we choose?" Luna didn't hesitate. "The second." Slytherin's test is about more than ambition, it's about knowing when to let go of control. We don't need to shape the world. We just need to be true to ourselves. Together, they chose the second door. As they stepped through, the chamber around them began to dissolve, the murals fading into light. The ancient magic of the founders had tested them, and they had passed, not by seeking power or knowledge, but by staying true to who they were. In the quiet aftermath, Luna and Neville stood in the now empty chamber, the weight of the trials lifting from their shoulders. The path forward was clear, and they had proven themselves worthy of the ancient magic that had been sealed away for centuries. Luna smiled softly, turning to Neville. "We've done it." Neville, though still catching his breath, smiled back. "I couldn't have done it without you." Together, they had faced the trials of the founders and emerged stronger for it. But as they prepared to leave the chamber, Luna knew that their journey wasn't over. There was still one final truth to uncover, a truth that lay at the heart of the magic that had been hidden away for so long. The final chapter awaited them, and with it, the shrouded truth that would change everything. Chapter 6: The Shrouded Truth. Luna Lovegood stood in the final chamber, her eyes wide with quiet wonder. The air around her buzzed with ancient magic, heavy and alive, like a heartbeat pulsing from the very stones of Hogwarts. The trials had been completed, and now the last piece of the mystery lay before her, waiting to be uncovered. Beside her, Neville Longbottom looked around, still catching his breath from their journey through the trials. His brow furrowed as he stared at the chamber's centerpiece, a large, intricately carved stone pedestal. It glowed faintly with runes Luna had seen throughout their adventure, but this time, something was different. The energy in the room felt more urgent, more alive, as though something had been disturbed. "What do you think it is?" Neville asked, his voice a low murmur, as though speaking too loudly might disturb whatever force lay beneath the surface. Luna stepped closer to the pedestal, her fingers gently tracing the runes. She could feel the magic thrumming beneath her fingertips, but this time, the whispers she had been following since the beginning of her journey were louder, clearer. They seemed to rise from the very foundation of the school, ancient voices calling out across time. "It's the heart of Hogwarts magic," Luna whispered, her voice soft but certain. "The founders built this school with their own power, but they also created something more, something to protect it." Neville blinked in confusion. "Protect it from what?" Luna's eyes remained fixed on the runes, her mind racing. They were preparing for a future threat, a danger that could tear the very foundation of Hogwarts apart. But they didn't just protect the school. They left behind something, a way to awaken the magic when it was needed. She glanced at Neville, her voice filled with quiet certainty. "That danger is Voldemort." The words hung in the air between them, heavy and undeniable. Neville's face paled slightly, but he nodded slowly, understanding dawning in his eyes. "So, this magic is tied to what's happening now? To Voldemort's return?" Luna nodded. "Yes." The founders knew that Hogwarts would face darkness again, and they left this magic, sealed it away, so it wouldn't fall into the wrong hands. But now, with Voldemort growing stronger, this magic could be the key to protecting the school. That's why it's waking up. As Luna spoke, the runes on the pedestal flared to life, glowing brighter and casting long shadows across the chamber walls. The shadows shifted and twisted, forming shapes and figures, flickering images of the four founders themselves, standing tall and resolute. Their expressions were solemn, their wands raised as though they were once again sealing the magic within the school. Luna watched in awe as the shadowy figures moved, playing out the final moments of the founders' plan. She could feel the weight of their decision. The magic they had created wasn't just a protective force. It was a sacrifice. Each of the founders had poured a piece of their own essence into the enchantment, binding their power to Hogwarts for eternity. That was the source of the magic, the strength of the school's very foundation, tied to the souls of its creators. "They gave everything to protect this place," Luna murmured, her voice filled with reverence. Neville stepped closer, his eyes wide with realization. "So, what do we do now? Do we have to wake the magic?" Luna hesitated. She could feel the power waiting beneath her hands, but something about the magic felt dangerous. It wasn't meant to be used lightly. It was ancient and powerful, but also fragile, like a sleeping dragon that should not be disturbed. "No," Luna said softly, her gaze steady. "This magic was meant to stay hidden unless it was absolutely necessary. We can't awaken it fully. If we do, it could change everything, even harm Hogwarts. But we can't leave it here, forgotten, either." She turned to Neville, her expression calm but resolute. "We need to protect this knowledge. We'll tell Dumbledore. He'll know what to do." Neville nodded in agreement, relief washing over his face. "Right. Dumbledore will know." Luna placed her hand on the pedestal once more, and as she did, the glow of the runes softened. The figures of the founders faded back into the shadows, and the pulsing energy in the room began to quiet. The magic wasn't gone, but it was receding, returning to the depths where it had been hidden for centuries. As the chamber grew still again, Luna felt a sense of peace wash over her. The magic was still there, still alive, but now it was understood. The mystery she had been chasing since the beginning had finally revealed itself, not as something to be controlled, but as something to be honored and protected. Together, Luna and Neville made their way back through the passageways, the echoes of the ancient chamber fading behind them. The castle was quiet as they emerged back into the corridors of Hogwarts, the weight of their discovery still fresh in their minds. They had uncovered a powerful secret, one that tied them to the very heart of the school's magic. As they reached the entrance to the Gryffindor common room, Neville turned to Luna with a thoughtful expression. "Luna, do you think Hogwarts still has more secrets like that? More hidden magic?" Luna's smile was soft and mysterious. "Oh, I think Hogwarts is full of secrets. It always has been. And I think it always will be." Neville chuckled softly. "I suppose you're right. Thanks for bringing me along, Luna. I don't think I could have done it without you." Luna's eyes sparkled with quiet amusement. "We were meant to find it together, Neville. The castle wanted us to." With a final nod, Neville disappeared into the common room, leaving Luna standing alone in the dimly lit corridor. For a moment, she stood still, listening to the faint hum of magic that always seemed to linger in the air around Hogwarts. The shadows of the school still whispered to her, but now, their voices were less urgent. The mystery had been solved, for now. But as Luna made her way back to Ravenclaw Tower, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just one of many secrets Hogwarts held. The ancient magic they had uncovered was part of something larger, a web of connections that stretched far beyond what they had seen. And Luna, with her open heart and curious mind, would always be ready to listen to the whispers. She smiled to herself, a serene sense of contentment settling over her. The adventure had come to an end, but she knew deep down that the mysteries of Hogwarts were never truly over. There would always be more to discover, more to understand. And Luna Lovegood, more than anyone, was ready for whatever mysteries lay ahead. As Luna climbed into bed that night, the last traces of starlight flickering through the window, she closed her eyes with a peaceful sigh. The Founder's magic was safe, the shadows had shared their secrets, and for now, Hogwarts slept quietly around her. But even in the stillness, Luna knew one truth above all: Hogwarts always whispered. And she would always be listening. Are you ready for even more magical adventures? There's so much more to uncover in the hidden corners of Hogwarts. If you enjoyed this journey with Luna Lovegood, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss the next enchanting episode. You won't want to miss the secrets waiting in the shadows.